So Mitchell is remembered today probably most famously for the design of the Supermarine Spitfire. So he joined Supermarine just towards the end of the First World War, rapidly rose through the ranks to become chief designer, designing many aeroplanes during his career. The Spitfire really came from his experience in racing seaplanes, these kind of sleek, elegant, metal-clad design with a Rolls-Royce engine, which had come out of this partnership in these racing seaplanes with Rolls-Royce and Supermarine. And he was awarded a CBE, not for the Spitfire, but for winning the Schneider Trophy. Now this was a seaplane race set up just before the First World War by a man named Jack Schneider. And the idea of this race really was to push aeroplane technology. So different countries would compete around a circuit, and simply the plane that got around the circuit fastest would win, and that country would win. The planes just before the First World War, the first Schneider Trophy race, I think the winning plane did about 40 odd miles per hour. And to put that into perspective, the last race where Mitchell's Supermarine SB won, that was doing almost 400 miles an hour.
Sah gut aus. Daneben.
He initially designed a fighter to the Air Ministry specifications, which was going to become the Spitfire, but it performed very poorly. And so he sort of went back to the drawing board and ignored their specifications and did his own thing, which was much more successful. So he wasn't afraid to, kind of break conventions, break the mold, and sort of follow his instincts for good design and engineering, which he did. And the Spitfire was really Mitchell's design. He was the lead designer on that project. And although after his death, he died in 1937, so he never actually saw the Spitfire go on to fulfill its role in the Second World War. And it's one of the only single-seat fighter aircraft that was being produced before, during, and after the Second World War, and it was still in production until about 1949.
Task finished, the fighters peel off, and the next thing on their program is a little ground strafing.
So yeah, Mitchell has got very strong associations with Stoke-on-Trent and the Potteries. He was born, of course, locally, just over the border into Newcastle in Kidsgrove in 1895, and of course attended local schools in Longton and in Hanley. The opportunities he had growing up in Stoke-on-Trent with the local engineering firms really helped hone that talent. Mitchell attended Kerr Stewart & Co for his apprenticeship, and it was kind of a mixture of, like some apprenticeships today, a mixture of on-the-job learning. So he was down in the locomotive works, partly in the drawing shops. I think that's where his passion was, being a draftsman, drawing designs, that side of engineering. I don't think he quite liked mucking in as much as on some of the more practical kind of manual aspects of the job, and I think he did complain a few times to his father about some of the manual elements of that work and having to come home in dirty overalls and that sort of thing, as it were. It's also worth noting that during Reginald Mitchell's lifetime, when he was born, 1895, this is before the Wright brothers' first powered flight. So he's one of the most famous aircraft engineers of his generation. But when he's born, aeroplanes don't exist, and so within the tragically short span of his life, he died only aged 42. The change that took place in technology with aeroplanes was remarkable, and thanks in no small part to his contributions.